Sky King, do not answer. Victor, Foxtrot, authentication, Delta Golf. I say again, Sky King, do not answer.
This is Collapse Out.
From London, England, a podcast about mysteries, the paranormal, and phenomena. You are listening to Anomaly. Here is your host, Gledders.
And hello from London. This is Gledders with episode 1 of a new podcast looking at strange phenomena, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and, well, you get the idea. A few people to thank first. For inspiration, British broadcaster Howard Hughes, Art Bell, Heather Wade, and the gang at Astonishing Legends. In episode 1, we go back to a radio broadcast from Christmas 2015 to introduce to you my co-host Steve. Also on this recording are Simon Beebe, Jamie Stocker, and paranormal investigator Becky Cooper Edgley. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can, of course, by email studio@anomaly.co.uk. Our website is at www.anomaly.co.uk. You can find us on Twitter as well, @AnomalyCast. Moving on now to that broadcast from Christmas 2015, where we meet Steve. And here now, to cap it all off, is Steve in Gainsborough. Hello, Steve.
Evening all.
How you doing?
I'm okay, how about you?
All right, did you enjoy the Howard Hughes interview?
Oh, I certainly did enjoy it, yes.
So what was this you were telling me offline about a conspiracy theory to do with Laura Branigan?
Well, yeah, we played Self-Control in the first hour.
Yeah.
And the video to that, which is probably one of the best videos ever made for pop music.
Yeah.
Very symbolic and all using masks and all that sort of thing. It was directed by one William Friedkin, who's better known for a little film that was released in 1972 called The Exorcist.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it's the video itself. If you watch it, there's supposed to be, because I know you sort of touched on conspiracy theories. It's something called MK Ultra,
yes,
which is a mind-altering compartmentalization thing that they allege is going on and causing, people to do things that perhaps they shouldn't do, and all that sort of stuff.
I like it. So you like a conspiracy theory, don't you, Steve?
Oh, I can read them. I can read them up and debate them and all that sort of stuff.
I know. We normally clash online about conspiracy theories in some way. Simon's with us at the moment.
Hello, Steve.
He's not necessarily a believer in paranormal things, but when it comes to conspiracies, he loves a good conspiracy. What's your favourite one, Simon?
Well, I suppose it's a little bit controversial, but the old cliche, did man really go on the moon? Because I just don't believe it, and there are so many questions which are sort of answered, which indicate that it was possibly staged, but then again there's some evidence to say no, it did actually happen. But what's your feelings around that, Steve? Because if I sit here now, I would quite happily put my hand up and say I do not believe that man has been on the moon.
I think we went on the moon.
Yeah.
I don't believe that the video that is all publicly put out there is necessarily a fair and accurate record of us going to the moon.
So why would that be the case?
Yeah.
One very simple reason. The lander that Neil Armstrong used to get onto the moon never worked on Earth.
In what way?
Every time they tried to use it in test runs on Earth,
it
used to crash. There's actually a YouTube video of it crashing, and Neil Armstrong having to parachute out to keep himself alive. But it never, ever worked on Earth. But it opens up a lot more conspiracies this way, because it sort of suggests that there was a black sort of budget going on, and that they did go to the moon, and perhaps they've never stopped going to the moon.
So you think that we're potentially still going to the moon now and using it for, nefarious purposes?
Not perhaps that, but whatever. I just think if you've spent all these billions of dollars on this project, of getting to the moon to try and be first, you are not going to want to show live on television the whole thing crashing. You're going to want to have something where it will go straight to, here's the flag, which is waving.
Yeah. But when you juxtapose that to the launch failure of Challenger, for instance, in 1986, is it because the launch of the space shuttle had become so mediocre by then that they were just being blasé?
But you could then actually link that into what happened to Gus Grissom. He was supposed to be one of the first to go to the moon, but was killed in a fire in one of the early Apollo sort of test runs. And
replaced by Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah, I see the full Paul stuff is fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely fan. And the Abbey Road album is supposed to tell you a lot about what's gone on, because you've got the Beatle in the background, which has his age on it if you work it out, and obviously there's the feet thing whereby the other three Beatles have the shoes on and Paul McCartney doesn't have any shoes or socks on, which suggests that it's a pallbearer, and he's the dead one. You've got the two pallbearers in front and one behind.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to have to look up that photo in a few moments' time, because I can visualise the cover, but
absolutely,
I don't think I've looked at it into that much detail.
There's a lot going on. There's certainly a lot going on there, and there's a few other bits and bobs that you can sort of see online, like changes in jawbone and nose, and people have actually done a lot. I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a very famous Coast to Coast AM broadcast out there, which is like Art Bell's original sort of show before he left it, which does go into the fake Paul conspiracy very well, and it's worth it to keep an open mind on it for a bit of entertainment or a bit of mind-altering stuff. It's good.
It wasn't a Jim Mars interview by any chance, was it?
No, it wasn't. I'm trying to think of the. I can't think of the name of the guy who.
It's okay.
Who did it?
But it's going to be findable out there on YouTube, no doubt.
Just to interrupt, where did the whole Paul McCartney conspiracy? Why has this come up in the first place? Like, why was the need to replace him if he had passed away or something similar? What was the reason behind it? Is it just because they were popular and that was why, or is there a more deep-rooted thing behind it?
Probably just part of the whole mythos of the Beatles, I think.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, you've also got the Sgt. Pepper album, which has a lot of very, very strange characters on there. From that well-known devil worshipper, I think he appears twice in the background.
Right.
The bald chap, I can't quite get his name, but you know who I mean.
So, do you think then, Steve, that do you buy into this Paul McCartney thing?
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, interesting it is. I mean, there's plenty of precedent for people being put in to replace. I mean, if you look at Saddam Hussein, for instance, in the run up to the Gulf War back in '91, he had several people who had gone under plastic surgery to look exactly like him, so that he could be in several places at once. And I think perhaps if you have got a brand that you're trying to portray, then maybe it does pay to have somebody that can slot in. I'm not sure I buy it on this occasion, but certainly there's precedent for it.
Alistair Crowley was the name I was thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
And the Paul McCartney expert is a guy called R. Gary Patterson.
Yes. In fact, I think has Howard Hughes had him on?
I think so. He's certainly. I think even maybe James Well might have had him on his old talk radio show many, many years ago.
Excellent. Well, let's we can come back to that because that's very good. Let's move on to what we were going to talk about tonight, which was to do with the hotel. So, do you want to talk us through that one, Steve? Yeah,
I mean, this might be one for Bex. I think she's sort of aware of it.
She's here,
it. And we're talking about.
She's ready to analyse you.
We're talking about a city that's about 80 miles away from Huntingdon, Lincoln.
Yeah.
And top of the hill, if you're familiar with sort of the aspect of Lincoln, you've got the cathedral, which sort of dominates. In fact, if you're on parts of the A1 or the East Coast Main Line, if you looked to your east, you can actually see the cathedral on a bright day many, many miles away in the distance. But along that sort of stretch is a place called the Lawn.
Oh, yes.
Which is sort sort of a hotel complex and, does hires out rooms and everything. But for most of its life, it was actually what they would not PC call, but a lunatic asylum.
It sure was.
Until 1985, I believe. Now, about 20 years after it closed, I actually went on an organised ghost hunt there, which started at 10 p.m. as these things did and went on through till 6 a.m. in the morning. I went there completely open-minded about all this, but I've got to say, a lot of strange things happened. Two of which, well, the first one is there's a chapel area, I'm not sure if you're aware of, sort of in the middle of the complex. It's completely enclosed. There's no light can get in there at all. I mean, effectively, the whole building was like a prison because it was designed to keep people in so they wouldn't escape. But in this room, along some timbers, and the only lights we had were little torches that we turned off, we did see these moving lights, you could call them orbs, that were sort of just dancing very freely along these sort of timber.
Light anomalies have been featured at the lawns quite a lot, because I've had quite a few friends that have investigated the lawns.
Yeah. We did ask when they disappeared if they would come back. There were 4 of us in the room, and 3 of us all saw them, all described them in the same way. They did come back, and then they sort of just went away. We sort of did the most haunted thing, where they say, thank you very much for that, and then we left it. But in this room, there are no light sources. There's nothing in this room at all. It was dark. It was black. As simple as that. And then a bit later on, I mean, we did pick up orbs in various other rooms and that sort of thing as well. But the main reason for me calling in was to do with a photograph that I believe Gladys has already tweeted out there. Now, this was in the reception area of the lawn. I was just taking random photos around.
What I'll do, Steve, if that's okay, just to jump in, is to let people find it. If you've got a Twitter account, I put the picture out earlier on this afternoon, and the Twitter account to have a look for is at Gledders HCRFM. That's GLEDDERS HCRFM, and you'll be able to find the picture there and have a quick look, and then you'll see what Steve's talking about. Sorry for jumping in, Steve.
So nothing really of note. I didn't see anything of note until obviously I got home, quite exhausted at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I just wanted to go through the photos, and this one photo did sort of strike me because I knew at the time I was the only person in this room. Now, just going back to the history of the building, of the site, with it being used for the care of those with mental health issues. I'm not sure if you've heard of something called the Guinea Pig Club.
Yes, I have indeed. From Sleaford is where the Guinea Pig Club started. Yeah.
Now, this is all about experimental plastic surgery that went on during World War II.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're dealing with things like this, the support obviously wasn't as good as it would be now. And if you look at the figure in this photograph, which seems to be coming through a door, because you can see the outline of another doorway in this reflection, I think is the best way. It's a reflection. It's a mirror you're looking at.
Yeah.
And there is this face at the bottom of the mirror.
Yeah.
Which has, if you look, it looks like there's 2 sort of eye sockets there, but underneath there is what looks like a scarf that's covering the bottom half of the head. Now, this would have been normal sort of gear for somebody who wanted to perhaps disguise themselves a little bit if they're a member of the Guinea Pig Club.
Yeah.
I didn't really know about that until a bit later on. This was sort of all the information I was getting after sort of releasing the picture out there, and other people were saying, "Oh yeah, we certainly can see what's going on there." Someone did suggest that there is actually something in the middle of the picture, if you look, and it's actually a disused candelabra. It's got nothing else because I went back to the site afterwards. There's 2 candelabras on the wall, as you can see in the reflection. There's one in the middle, but that's got nothing. There's no reflection going on there. It's just a disused candelabra stand that's actually stuck on the wall. As I said, I've kept an open mind about this. I don't know what caused it. I know I was the only person in that part of the wing at the time, and if there had been anybody else there, they would have said. But that doesn't look like anybody else who was part of this sort of team investigating. It looks very, very odd and very, very as if it shouldn't.
It certainly is an odd photo.
So it's a photo of. I'm just trying to get this into mind. So it's a photo of a mirror. Is that right?
It's a photo of a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, it's not me.
What's the white tiling on the right-hand side? Is that a reflection or?
Let's have a look at the picture.
Because to me, it's sort of when I first saw it, it looks like a pink wall.
Yeah.
And then towards the right of the photo, it looks as if you're going into, I don't know, like a tiled room, a bathroom or something like that.
No, I mean, this is just the reception area of the room. I think to the left of the actual where the mirror is sort of a desk and all the other bits and bobs.
Right, and you've got the curtain on the left. Is that right?
Sorry, what's that?
You've got a curtain on the left.
You've got a left. Yeah, you got a curtain to the actual left, but to the left of where the mirror is, you've actually got like a separate room. And where this figure is coming from, because obviously if that had been myself, there would have been a picture of me with a camera.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm sort of to the right, I think, of the camera, so it looks like there is somebody standing in a doorway, standing behind me.
Okay. And there was no one there at the time?
There's nobody else there. I just sort of walked off, because at the time I knew from work, I knew this sort of building anyway, and so I had a little bit more...
so what do you think it is then, Steve?
I don't know. I honestly do not know. It was nobody that was there at the time.
Because to me, sorry to interrupt, because to me, so if you look at that photo, and straight away, I don't really sort of believe in ghosts. I believe it's the mind playing a trick.
Yeah.
And this is why when you mentioned this hotel, it'd be very much sort of interesting for me if I could actually go there and spend a night. I was gonna, my next question was, how do you get involved to do activities like that? Because for me, I just can't see it. I just can't see it. When you're describing you're in this room, there are some white sort of flashing lights sort of moving around. To me, I thought, well, there's got to be an explanation for it. A white light does not happen in a dark room without anything causing it. But then again, I suppose if you do look at it from another point of view, there could be something out there. But I've never actually seen anything or experienced anything. I'm probably going to drive home now. I'm probably quite freaked out. But I would very much like to experience it. And hopefully by myself experiencing it, I may be able to get some more understanding. Because at the moment, my brain is just going, no, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. There has to be an explanation behind it.
I mean, Paul's aware of the story. I told him about a year ago.
Don't you bring me into your sordid fantasies.
But no, it was actually after my son died, and the day he died, a watch he'd given me for Christmas one year had stopped.
Yeah, and
it stopped more or less at the time he passed.
It's something that's been recorded before is actually watches and other timepieces stopping, isn't it?
Yeah, watches and clocks stopping. Yeah.
Steve, are you going to be okay to hang around for a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, mate. I'm going to put you back on hold, and
no worries.
We're going to have an ad break. After the ad break, I'm going to play a song, and 10 bonus points to you if you can tell me what the film is.
All right.
Good man. Right, stay tight. That's Steve from Gainsborough. He's back on hold. Let's play some music after the ad break. John Anderson, and Do You Want to Be a Hero? Steve, are you there?
I am.
Okay, and did you Google it?
I didn't.
Okay.
But I got it in the end.
What was the film?
It was Biggles.
Yes, it was. Well done.
Adventures in Time, I think, was the subtitle.
You're not getting bonus points, you know. You just get those points. Right. Let's go back to this photograph.
Yes.
So you've told us the tale of how it's happened.
Yep.
And the expert here in the studio is...
There's no such thing as an expert
You're an
in
expert.
The paranormal world.
Okay. Paranormal.
It's a constant learning curve.
You're a panel member. Be an expert. It's like The Voice. If somebody tells you a ghost story that you want to hear, you turn around. Okay. Bex, what do you make of it?
It's an odd photo, but without a second photo to compare it to. I couldn't say for definite what it was.
Okay.
Some could look at the photo, because whatever it is, appears to be the same colour as the walls.
Right.
So some could say it is a reflection. People could argue that there was somebody else in the room because it's a reflection, it's distorted. Personally, I do listen to the person who's taken the photo, because I've had a similar photo myself, and I've had people argue with me.
Yeah.
I've known it's only been me in the room, and it was me taking a photo into a mirror with a doorway to the side of me with a figure stood in the doorway.
Sure.
But without a second photo, it's really difficult for anyone to give a definitive, because we always say take 2 or 3 shots of the same thing.
Yeah.
Because then you have a baseline to compare it to.
I think at the time the issue was I was just taking photos willy-nilly.
Which you do.
See anything. I might have some more of these, and I'm pretty certain somewhere on a CD I do have a few of this sort of thing, and this image doesn't appear in any of the others.
Can it not be, and I'm going to completely think out of the box here, and it's something which has come to mind, can it not be a trick? So when the flash goes off on the camera device or the phone or whatever you're taking, someone, or there may be some chemical on that particular mirror in that area, or a sticker that creates a reflection to give you the impression that there's something there. So i.e. it's a complete trick. Is that feasible, or am I in loony land?
No, I've seen a photo. I had somebody send me a photo one day, and they said, "Look, there's a monk in this mirror."
Right.
I had actually investigated that venue, and I went, "It's not." I said, "Unfortunately, it's smears on the mirror because the person who owns the property has a teenage daughter,
Right.
who's been practicing kissing."
Oh.
On the mirror.
No.
And
as you do.
But in a video,
Yes.
when you take a photo of the reflection, the smear marks, and it did look like a monk. I know it wasn't. And the teenage girl did stop doing it.
Of course, I mean there is a famous monk photo, isn't there, in a church, which
Yes.
is about 8 or 9 foot tall. And they've never been able to prove that to be a fake, have they?
Is that the one that's leaning against a banister on some stairs, or is that something else?
Or is that the one by the altar?
This one by the altar.
The one by the altar.
Right.
And it's very, very freaky looking. It's got that sort of scream, mask type look to it, but obviously
Oh,
it's
yes, I've seen it.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Newby Church, apparently.
But the problem with a lot of those photos, Steve, and it's you go through in the same way that there is a fashion to UFO sightings, where you get cylinders for a couple of years, and then you get this for a couple of years and that for a couple of years. Do you find, though, that with ghost or alleged ghost photos that similar sort of things happened? I mean, you look at those the spectral photos from the Victorian times, if I think, things appearing in midair, they were all very samey, and then they just stop.
Yes. And then obviously you had, but you also had the famous Cottingley Fairies photograph.
Yeah, I was just going to come on to that. Yeah,
which even the Arthur Conan Doyle, who was supposed to be one of the most gifted minds of the generation, said they were real. And I think even then, when the schoolgirls became old ladies, they then admitted they made it up, but did still say, "Well, hang on, we did make that up, but we did still see fairies in Cottingley."
Yeah, it's difficult. And also the other thing, of course, is that people go on. They don't necessarily want to inflict their story, or I hate the term narrative, I really do, but I'm going to use it. They're going to inflict their narrative on their offspring by saying, right, aren't you the daughter of the woman who claimed to see fairies? Sometimes it's easier to draw a line under it and say, aren't you the woman who claimed to have seen fairies for a few years and then finally admitted it wasn't true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, going on about things like that, so talking about the people and things like that, you come also that people don't like to talk about it because other people don't know what other people's beliefs are. So it's not until you start talking to other people who sort of know about similar things or into the same sort of things. Not many people know about these stories either, to be honest.
Well, that's why I'm very, very careful with this photograph when I say, look, this is a photograph. It's not been altered. It's not been changed around. Didn't even notice this until I got home. This is what was on one of the photos that I took. It's interesting. It's something that I didn't see at the time. Didn't see, wasn't aware of it when I was composing the photo. But it's there now. What is it? What's going on here? And that's, I think, in a way, it's trying to use Occam's razor to try and sort out what it is, what's causing this. And I think you might be right. It could be a complete aberration on the lens, or there's some reaction going on that's caused this. But the one interesting thing on top of all this is if you actually zoomed in on that image, that part of the image, there does look like there's some sort of school form there. Very frightening.
I did actually do the exact same thing. I zoomed in on my phone, and you can actually make out, sort of to a degree, sort of eyebrows above the sockets, even though they're sunken up to a degree. You can make out there is also like wispy sort of not white hair, but wispy hair on the back as well, isn't there?
Oh, that's quite freaky.
Yeah, but I think the main thing that did it for me was obviously you had the sunken eyes and you had the scarf, or there's something. I say scarf just for.
Absolutely.
Explanatory reasons, really. But
Steve,
there's something there.
Were you aware of the plastic surgery experiments before you went there?
No.
You weren't. So how did you come to find out about those?
It was, I think, when I was passing it around, that some people said, there's actually, if you go to the library and research into this, I think that some of the guinea pig club members were actually based at the lawn for a period of time. I think it wasn't called the lawns back then. It was called something like the county asylum. It was not particularly nice, but that's what they called it. So it was just really afterwards, and it's like, it might be worth having a look into that, because that's what they used it for. And I think when they ran a second ghost hunt around the same place, unfortunately they seem to have stopped doing them now, and this was about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Somebody did say, I've seen something like this here. I actually saw it with my eyes. It was like, okay.
I mean, it's better to have two independent accounts than somebody coming along afterwards and going, yeah, I saw that. But the thing is, you have to deal with the hand that you're given. You can't, it's in an ideal world these things will come along. Now, I think Simon is going to challenge you on something.
Okay.
Not really challenge. I just want to know that picture is just one example. So you say you arrived at 10 o'clock at night and you were still there till 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you were. What else happened during that night? Obviously, you described this room you're in, this box room with the lights. You took some photos. What else? Because I'm sitting here and I'm not convinced whatsoever.
Well, there was a psychic with us as well.
Yeah.
All night. She did. At the end of the night, she did try to create a séance, but nothing. There was no ghost watch type séance going on there or anything like that, where everything sort of blew to bits. But when we were in another room, which Bex might be, there's actually a room which was near where the children were actually placed in the old buildings, and apparently it's a room where they played in. Wherever she was in the room, when he took a photograph of her, there were orbs around her. There were white lights around her. If you took a picture somewhere else in the room away from her, there were no orbs. Now, I know there's an argument for orbs saying it's just dust. It does seem strange, even with a room of other people, that if you took a picture somewhere else in the room, there were no white lights, but around the woman who claimed to be a psychic, there were a number of orbs. And she did say, and a lot of this is coming back to me because I've not really thought about it for about 11 years, that she felt children. She felt the spirits of children around her.
That's strange.
Just for clarification, what is an orb?
Bex
Good question.
One, for that one.
A ball of confusion. You're not a paranormal investigator or a ghost hunter if you haven't had a heated discussion over orbs. Find me a photo pre-digital with an orb in it, and I'd be interested.
Okay. So you think it could be potentially an artefact of digitisation?
Digital camera manufacturers, photographers, parapsychologists, scientists have researched orbs, and basically have shown that 99% of orbs are, because of the closeness of the flash to the lens of the camera, and you have an area that will catch and reflect back dust, moisture, bugs.
Right. The
Gotcha.
The video.
I like, the orbs I would actually like to see, the ones you actually physically see with your own eye, not through a lens.
Sure.
The ones that you actually see, and then I might actually be,
How do you account for the videos of crop circles being formed with orbs over them? Because I believe they were taken back when it wasn't digital photography.
Crop circles don't interest me. We do have one of the team that that really does like crop circles. Are they done by little green men? Are they done by local villagers?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
They're very pretty. There's some very they're obviously taking a lot of thought. Are they paranormal? I err on the side of not.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. Steve, are you going to be available to sit out one more ad break?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Right, bear with us, mate. We'll just go into a couple of ads and then we'll bring you straight back. Okay?
No worries.
Super. Good man. The Police and Every Breath You Take. You're listening to HCR 104 FM from Huntingdon, and we're around the world on the internet at hcrfm.co.uk. It's Paranormal and Supernatural night tonight. Been started at 6 o'clock, and we've had some cracking callers so far, and it's going to continue now. We've still got Steve in Gainsborough on the line. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
How are you? Did you get that last one? Now, yeah, possibly, yeah. Let's go back to orbs for a second. I think anybody who's got an interest in this type of subject has a line that stories cross. There are things that I can accept, there are things that I can believe in, but there are some things which to me are just beyond the pale. I don't know, do you have that same sort of thing?
It's difficult. I think with the old film photography days, if you're going through negatives and you saw a glitch on the negative, you wouldn't process it.
Yeah.
You chuck it. So I've just wondered, and I've heard the theory that they've only come in because of digital photography, but perhaps because digital photography means that you've got thousands and thousands and even millions of shots, and you can discount the ones and all that sort of thing. You can notice these oddities that perhaps you wouldn't have noticed, or you would have just jettisoned if they're in front of you on a strip of negatives. It's a difficult one to follow. I mean, I've just done a Google to try and locate something, and to be fair, Beck's right. I can't find anything that claims to be a pre-digital photo with your standard looking orb on.
Interesting. Now, orbs have always been that thing to me, the bit that's beyond the pale. I've never seen one. I don't think I've ever taken a photograph with one in it. But I don't actually take a lot of pictures other than with my phone, and they generally go on Facebook and get deleted and derided. But excuse me. But there we are. But you see, the thing is, I think when somebody's telling you their experience, you need to be able to look them in the eye, ideally, to see what's going on. I've known you for how long?
20 years, I think.
Okay, thanks for that. I know. Yeah, well, I was living in Huntingdon the first time around then, so that was back in the days of the old news group for talk radio.
It was.
So, yeah, I'm going to say, 96?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just when I went on the internet in 96. Put that chocolate back. So, I've known you long enough. And we have some almighty ding-dongs online about I believe this, you believe that, and whatever. And I think it's healthy to come at things from different angles. But what I'll do, because I've got Simon here, who's the arch skeptic for the night.
Indeed.
Jamie,
who is a confirmed believer and chocolate eater. and
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, this is a ghost. I'm saying I'm completely open-minded about these things. We saw things. I think there's enough out there to say, if you said to somebody 150 years ago there'll soon be a rectangular box in every house that will be able to show you moving pictures, I'd say that will never happen.
No, of course. And that's,
you can only know up to that point, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, I think we've argued this thing about time travel before, haven't we?
We have, and
that time travel.
Yeah.
No one's come back in time because we haven't got to that point in time yet.
Yeah, or
so
we just don't know about the ones that have come back, or do we? I mean,
but that's it. But then, say if they invented time travel in 2050,
yeah,
well, 2050 hasn't happened yet. We're still at 2015, just.
I've known it on good word. There has been some time travellers going back to 1955 into 1885 and also into 2015.
Is that a fact? Was he driving a car by any chance?
He was, yes, a silver car, yes.
Would that be Back to the Future by any chance?
Oh, right. Simon's busted you.
I'm the sceptic in the corner.
I'll get you. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you about what happened to me. I think we've probably discussed this before, Steve, but many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first things that really got me into this subject, and it also one of the first things that ever got me to meet a paranormal investigator, and it was perhaps a thing that didn't go very well on both occasions, but I'll have to be careful how much information I give, because I don't want to upset my mother, who's actually involved in it, and hopefully she's not listening. But when I was 16, I used to have a Saturday job at a paint and wallpaper shop, and a lady who worked there had recently committed suicide. She'd had a hard time, and enough was enough, and she took her own life. But even before that stage, people had said that there was something wrong with the building, which was an old cinema. Now, before the paint and wallpaper shop was there, it was a food store like Tesco's. It was a Fine Fairs, actually, I think. So downstairs was the main part of the supermarket. Upstairs was divided into two. You had a main stock room and another stock room which was tiled, and that was for food preparation. Are you with me so far?
Yep.
Good. I'm just for Simon's benefit.
I'm catching up. I've got it in my mind.
Just going to draw you a quick
do a
picture.
diagram for me.
So,
you're more than welcome.
Fine. Now, on this Sunday, I was working downstairs, and people would come in. They say, "Oh, have you got this batch of wallpaper or whatever?" So one of you would have to go out to go and get, say, 3 rolls to match up with what somebody's holding. So the guy that was the manager at the time, I said to him, "I'm going out the back. Got to go find something for a customer." And you go out the back, and by going out the back, you actually go upstairs. You walk out the back of the store. There's a winding staircase goes to that top floor there, and you've got that stockroom that's divided into 2. Now, upstairs always had that kind of air about it. The room that was tiled was very claustrophobic, even though it was huge. You could never catch your breath quite in there. But on that occasion, I'd gone upstairs to fetch some wallpaper for somebody, and I was standing in the doorway between those 2 stockrooms. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
You're going to love this. Anyway, I'm standing there with my back towards I'm standing in the doorway with my back towards the tiled room. To my right-hand side, about 15-20 feet away, is the top of the stairs. So it's a winding staircase. If somebody's coming up it, you can't see them until they get to the top. Now, on that occasion, I'm standing there, and I didn't like it. I never liked it. And I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Now, so I shouted out to the manager to say, "I'm up here," because obviously you shouldn't leave the shop with nobody in it. The footsteps kept coming. The footsteps got to the top of the stairs. The footsteps kept on walking, went right past me and into the staff room. Now, give me the chills just thinking about it. There was no, it went chilly. The hairs on the back of my neck went up. It was just like, well, hang on a second. I didn't see a thing. No orbs, no ghost, no apparition, no nothing. But those footsteps quite clearly went past me. Now, I defy anybody to say that you can't be aware, when you're in a quiet room, you can't be aware of when footsteps are coming up from one side and walking past and going the other way. But, and I'm not trying to convince you. People will take it as they do, and people will call me mad for saying it. But that's one of those things. Now, before I get Beck's input on this, I went to a local ghostwriter, a guy called Wesley Downs, who wrote some books on Essex ghosts, and he came out, and he came out to the store. The manager was there, and he said, "No, nothing here, nothing here at all," and that's the problem, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I felt like an idiot. I feel a bit of an idiot telling you now, but I know that happened.
Nobody should say things haven't happened.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't happen when they're there doesn't mean it hasn't happened. We had a similar one at a venue. I'd got a group upstairs, another group downstairs, so we'd got actually a floor between us.
Yeah.
So we knew that nobody was near anyone else. This whole group was in this little room. They heard footsteps coming up the stairs towards them. They didn't hear the door open, but I'd set a motion alarm REM pod the other side of the door, which activated. And when I listened back to the recording, because it was all caught on video, you actually hear them going, "Well, whose footsteps? Where are they?
Yeah.
Whose are they?" And because the REM pod then activated.
What's a REM pod?
It's a piece of equipment that has an aerial, and it forms a bubble of electromagnetic field around it. So rather than some piece of equipment that you're looking for the EMF to activate, this has already got its own field, and when you want something to disturb the bubble, and there was 2 in the room, and in order they had both activated, and with that this team went F that and left.
Right.
Came running down the stairs like a horde of elephants.
Yeah.
We went out to see what was going on. They told us, and I went, well, there was a video camera upstairs, so if it, hopefully we've captured it. And we had captured the footsteps. And they were heavy footsteps going up a set of stairs. There was no reason for these 2 alarms to activate. The team had heard the footsteps, but nobody was there. And we searched that entire building in case somebody had got in, because we were locked in.
Unbelievable. Simon?
I'm just sitting here, and I can visualise everything which you've described, and you as well. But it must be my mind, because I just cannot comprehend it happening. I can understand the chilly feeling, because I have had that, and as I've just typed something on the screen, and I'll read out what I've put. As I sit here, I feel like there is something watching me. I feel a little bit of scare. I do feel a bit scared, but I know it's my brain.
Okay. Well, you know what they say, Steve. I mean, he's not paranoid. They really are watching him, isn't it?
well, I must admit, I have got several eyes watching me, so that's probably what I'm feeling. But I don't know. I think I'm not disbelieving anything at all, because the world is a strange place. But for me, it may be because I haven't experienced it, so I am a very sort of cautious about understanding it.
Yeah.
If I experience it, I may be in a completely different. I may sit at the other side of the fence. But I'm just trying to. I do trying to think I've got a fair view on it. I do take everyone's view and everyone's sort of aspirations of it. But I'm still sitting here and I'm thinking. No, how is it possible?
It's one of those things. You say about you don't have to fall off a cliff to know it hurts. And with this sort of stuff, that adage doesn't work. It really is something that you. Well,
I almost fell off a cliff a couple of months ago, so I suppose I could.
But it's one of those things you have to experience to actually try and work it out. And I mean, you might think it's your brain doing it, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, and
I'm going to have to stop it there because we're going up to the news.
Oh,
we'll come back after the news. Steve, our last little bit with you now. Yep. My recollection of events from, what was that, it must have been 1988. Now, that's never going to leave me. I mean, I didn't finish it off by the fact that I ran like you wouldn't believe. I was back off down those stairs, and I think I was pretty much a gibbering wreck by the time I got to the bottom. But and the manager had his own experiences, but he waited until he'd retired before he told anybody about it. He treated me like I was a lunatic. But still, there you go. What do you make of it? What were your thoughts?
These things happen to people.
Yeah.
This is, and as I said before the news until they happen, or until you are in the mindset of, well, hang on, that was a bit strange, which I think is what we're trying to say. It's not, there isn't a black and white thing to this. I think there are various shades of grey when these things happen to you, like anything happens to you in the street, but this is from a completely different sort of level. It's all a case of, well, what was that? What's going on there? What was causing that noise? There's a thing called phantasmagoria, which is about how certain events in the environment can lead you to feel a certain way. I think if you have blue lights in a room, it can make you feel cold.
Yeah.
Or red lights can make you feel warm. But there isn't any other stimulus of temperature in there. There's no heater in there or no air conditioning in there. It's just the light.
I mean, I'm the first one to say that there was always an oppressive atmosphere, worse in the room that was tiled than the one that wasn't tiled. And ironically, because it was such a badly looked after building, the room that was tiled at one place is open to the elements anyway.
Did you say it was an old cinema?
At one stage, yeah.
I think Bex might know this, but there are sort of certain things about old cinemas. Indeed, in Lincoln, where the local BBC station is an old cinema, and they've complained for years since moving in there. The Radian buildings, it was the Radian cinema during the war, and apparently there's a ghost in there of a waitress who used to go down the aisle selling ice cream and everything.
No. It's a BBC thing, you know.
Possibly.
I'm not allowed to start on the BBC because Simon will tell me off.
But it is interesting that I don't know if Bex will know, but cinemas do tend to be little hotspots.
They do. We've done an old cinema that's been purchased by a well-known pub chain. But it originally started its days as a cinema, and that was quite a hotbed of stories of activity.
That's strange. Steve, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Enjoyed
and
it.
A great guest to have on. The next time that I can convince the management to let me do this, then we'll definitely have you on again.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Happy New Year, everybody.
And to you, mate.
Thank
Take
you.
care now. Bye-bye.
Take care. Cheers.
Anomaly is independent media. Comments and beliefs of guests do not necessarily reflect the views of those behind this podcast. Thank you to Dutch musician Michette for our great theme tune. Visit his site at michette.com or look for his work on SoundCloud. Please visit our website at anomaly.co.uk and email us through studio@anomaly.co.uk. You can follow us on Twitter at AnomalyCast. Watch out for the latest episode of Anomaly.